there, listeners. Welcome to Shit That Goes On to Our Heads, the podcast where we normalize conversations around mental health.
That's right. I'm Dirty Skittles, and alongside my amazing co-host, Rex, we are here to share stories and tips from our incredible guests.
Each episode, we deep dive into struggles and triumphs of mental health, offering practical advice and heartfelt support.
Because no one should feel alone in their journey. Join us as we break the stigma and build a community of understanding and compassion.
Tune in and let's start talking about the shit that goes on in our heads. This is part one of a two-part episode. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Dirty Skittles. And we have an awesome guest today. We have Emily, and we also have Elise with us.
Welcome.
So I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for being here.
Me too. I'm kind of shy.
I like your little microphone.
I know, it's so cute.
Thanks. I just got it. I've been dying to use it. So I'm kind of excited I finally get to use it.
It's working great.
I love it.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
Great.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Yeah, it sounds really good. So, Miss Emily, could you tell us why you wanted to come on to our crazy little podcast?
She's 9, and I just keep thinking that like she could go through the same things that I go through in life, and I want to share my story to hopefully create a safe space for her or any other like child, adolescent to share their story and get help so that they don't have to suffer alone and afraid like the way that I did. And I hope that by sharing my story, nobody else will think that taking their life is the only option, because it's not.
How did you find the voice to be brave and share your story now?
Honestly, so my sister graduated with our friend Greg Eves. We all went to Homer High School, and he randomly messaged me on Facebook. Like, they were pretty good friends in high school, but we hadn't talked for a while. And he randomly messaged me on Facebook, and he's like, "Hey, you tried to kill yourself once, right? LOL." And I'm like, "Yeah, Greg, what's up? Like, not many people know what's going on." And he's like, "Well, I work for 988 now, and, I have this really good idea, and it's like stories of hope. You'll be like the pilot one. I was really hoping you could work with me and share your story." And I was like, "You know what? Yeah, I'll do it. Let's do it," because I trust him. I know him. And then he had like this really amazing camera crew that came, and they came to like the hospital for a day. They came to my house, and it's just like always wild at my house. So it was a time, but like, and they gave me a list of interview questions, and I made them give it to me like a week before so I could like
prepare,
study and research and like make sure I knew exactly what I was going to say. Cause sometimes I get nervous and talk really fast. And so, yeah, but that's how I got here. Cause Greg was just like, "Emily, you tried to kill yourself, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, Greg. Yeah."
Shout out to Greg. Thanks, Greg.
Right, Greg.
Yeah. Okay. So you're here, you're sharing your story. Where does it sort of begin for you?
I guess I didn't really know, but I think I was like 11 or 12 when I first started thinking about like not being here anymore. I had like a little bit of a tumultuous upbringing. Like, my childhood wasn't the most amazing. And on top of that, my grandma, she was diagnosed with major depression, and she actually passed away pretty early. She ended up having to go into a nursing home at 52 because of like an anoxic brain injury from a suicide attempt. And she just had no short-term memory anymore. So she wasn't safe. And so I guess I just got her genes. And so, yeah, I think I was like 11 or 12 the first time I started like self-harming, like cutting myself. One time I didn't know though really what I was doing, or I didn't understand like the correlation between like self-harming and like being depressed and like suicide and suicidal ideation. Cause back then, I feel like I'm old, but like no one really talked about stuff,
right.
So everything was really kind of hush. And I remember the first time I ever cut myself, I was in the shower. I was probably like 11 or 12. And I have a scar still on like the front of my arm. And cause I wasn't at that point, wasn't trying to like kill myself. I just knew that like I felt really like numb. I felt like unseen. I didn't really feel like being here was, I just wasn't sure like what my point in life was. And so then that's when I started like cutting or whatever. And I remember like my mom, and obviously when you're in the shower, if you're like bleeding or something, like it seems like a lot. And I remember she like covered up like my arm, she like patched it up, and then she just like set me down and then like walked away. We never talked about it. Like,
Oh,
nothing.
no.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just would like, it just kind of grew from there. And then I had like a self-harm issue for a while, but I was really good at hiding it, like really good. And then it kind of progressed. I was pretty young when I went to college. I was 17. I just turned 18, I think, when I entered my like freshman year of college. And I don't think that I was mentally ready or prepared for like what it's like to be totally on your own. I made it through like most of the year. And then in April, I think after the winter just hit me hard when I was home on break, I remember I would just drive around for hours in my car and I would just be like sobbing and I didn't know why. And I would sleep like all day. Even when I was at school, I would sleep until like 3, 4 in the afternoon. And it was, I didn't know. And the guy I was dating, like, you know, when the 988 video that I did came out, he was like texting me and he's just like, I didn't know. I'm like, I didn't know either. That's why I'm telling the story, because there's so many things and like signs that I had, but no one talks about it. So no one knew like, oh my gosh, hey, she's pretty like depressed. We should probably get her some help, because no one talked about it. So I started like sleeping all day and crying all the time and just driving around and being alone. I like really didn't tell anybody, because the version of me that everybody saw was just like this happy-go-lucky person and I was always there for everybody, you know, and I was like always making people laugh, like Robin Williams, you know, pretty cool like him.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, and then I overdosed in, I think it was like April, or yeah, it had been like April, in my dorm room alone. And I got scared like 30 minutes after I did it. And I didn't have like a cell phone. And so I like went across the hall and I asked my friend across the hall like for her cell phone, and I called 911 and then like told them, and I guess I gave her her cell phone back. But by the time they got there, I was unconscious. I kind of remember being in the ambulance like for a little bit. And then I a little bit remember the ER, and I remember like the nurses there were so mean to me. And I remember they gave me the phone and they're like, tell your parents what you did. But I like went unconscious again. So I couldn't even like tell my parents what I did. And then I ended up in the ICU for like 7 days or something. And they said if I hadn't been like an athlete, I would have died because my heart rate was so high from what I overdosed on. But luckily luckily I made it. But after that, then had to go to like the behavioral unit for like a mandatory like 72-hour psych holds. I was the youngest kid I was the only kid in the psych department. And that was so scary. It was terrifying. Honestly, while I was there, I remember all I thought was like, I wish that I would have like died. I wish I didn't call 911, because that experience was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my life. Yeah. But so that's kind of my story. And then I actually had a second attempt when I was 20. And then after that, I really kind of found like the right therapist and started just getting help. I had a baby too, which I don't know, that's not like the cure, but now I'm not living just for me, you know, I'm living for this tiny little human who I'm everything to, which has definitely helped.
Yeah. If I ask anything that is like triggering, just tell me we're not doing that. I'm curious, when you were young and that first time that you mentioned being in the shower and cutting yourself for the first time, if you had somebody there that would have reacted differently, would that have made any impact? And like, do you think like the days following on, if you would have had earlier intervention?
I think so. And it's part of the reason it's been like so hard for me to tell my stories, because I never want to make anyone feel guilty. And I think, yeah, if my mom was like, I love you, like don't hurt yourself, you know, like, and like, that's hard for me to say, because my parents, they were 20 when they met, and they met in a halfway house, you know, they weren't ready to have 3 kids back to back, you know, they had their own like mental health issues. And I don't think we realize the generational stuff that we like pass down, and like how much like we take from like our families, and how like, I feel like Elisa knows, like even in like her book, you know, like how we carry stuff that happens to us with our childhood all the way through life with us. And it really impacts everything that happens for the rest of our lives. So I think that, had my mom been like, what's going on? Like, why would you think to do that? Like, there's so many questions that, now that maybe because I'm a nurse, I would think to ask, but I think, I love my parents, but the way that my mental health was handled wasn't helpful. I didn't feel safe. I just felt like, oh, all right, we're never talking about this, I guess. So let me just see. I'm just not going to tell her next time. I don't know.
Yeah, I asked because I remember getting to a point in my adult life where I was finally able to understand my parents were people, right? Like they were humans with their own baggage and like their own issues. And for me, that was freeing to be able to find my own help because I knew, like, I don't think it necessarily comes from like, oh, I wish my mom would have done something differently. I was very curious in that moment, like how alone or how feeling lonely only made it worse. Like,
So
especially
much
when,
worse.
especially when you don't know anybody else who's talking about this or who feels even remotely close to how you're feeling. Like that has to be tough as a child going through that.
You just feel worthless. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think the other part too is like, your parents, you said, were young, right? And met in a halfway house and maybe just weren't equipped, like not equipped to like help you through that, right? Like because they were dealing with their own things. And, let's see. So you did that probably like 10, 15 years ago. Like mental health back then, like they didn't talk about it like we do now, which is super, super important. This is why we do this, right? It's super important that we get these conversations out there so that people can learn that there's resources out there like 988, the Trevor Project Crisis Hotline. Like it's so important. And kudos to you for like just working on getting yourself better so that you can take care of your
that was one thing
human.
After the 988 video, I was so grateful for it, but I felt like it showed like this picture perfect version of me that like I'm healed. And it's like every day is still a struggle. And I think anybody has mental health like issues, like anybody, I'm sure like Elisa, you probably still have like, it's still a battle probably in your head, I don't know. Like, I don't think it just goes away.
So yes, it is definitely an everyday battle. And I find it interesting in the sense that, everybody has, their form of depression or anxiety or whatever, and it manifests in so many different ways. And so, for me, it was the eating disorder. And, when I got depressed and to my lowest, like I wasn't cutting myself, but I was restricting myself, which is ultimately, killing yourself slowly. So although everybody's story is slightly different, I feel like, the mental health aspect of it is the same across the board. And, the ultimate form of self-care and, being your best self, I don't think is just understanding that you have to work on your mental health every day. It's more than that. It's educating others around you so that not only do they understand more about themselves, but they understand more about their loved ones, right? I think that's the piece of the puzzle that we're missing. And I think we keep on saying like, you're never really truly 100% cured. Yes, that's 100% true. And so you have to continuously work on yourself, but the knowledge needs to be out there for the support system as well. Because without the support system and without the knowledge, from other people to support you, it really is hard to maintain, being in recovery because it is isolating and lonely if people don't understand you. So yeah, it is. It's a battle. And I think the more that other people can understand that battle, the easier it will become.
Yeah. The same goes for me. I'm 2.5 years out from my suicide attempt. And I was doing really well up until November of last year. And then shit hit the fan and I got super depressed again. But this time when I got super depressed, like everybody knew how I felt because a lot like you, Emily, like I was the life of the party. Like nobody knew what was going on. I masked up. That is not a badge
I
of
think
honor. And
Elisa's
if
the
you are
same way because I
masking
went to
how
her
you're
gala and
feeling,
I'm like, she
don't.
is just like the
Because
nicest person. Like everybody wants to talk to her. She didn't have a second to herself. Like she was like, you can just tell she has the same aura. So I feel like maybe that's a trait that a lot of people are really good at having to hide what they're going through. I feel like we all have that in common.
Yeah. And like for me, people started to notice that I wasn't happy because this time I didn't put my mask up, right? I had resting bitch face for 2 weeks, for 2 months. And people were like, fix your face. And I'm like, nope, I am not happy. This is what you get. And this time everybody knew how depressed I was. But like I took the positive steps, but to both of your points, it's something we have to work on every single day. It's, there's a lot of triggering shit out there right now. And, part of it is just trying to figure out.
I'm still learning
how I put one foot in front of another.
As my kids grow older, I find myself becoming a part of like new cliques of people, like the parents of my children, friends or whatever, and they don't know much about my life. So, when they're talking about like their latest diet or, oh my God, I lost 10 pounds or like, oh my God, you look so great. Like none of them know that's triggering for me. So none of it is deliberate. But so like, I always have to be prepared. As soon as I step foot out the door, I'm going to be like hit with triggers constantly. So like I have that toolkit to understand and to process and to like get myself out of, the mental mind frame that I was, 2 years ago that ended me up in treatment. And so that's hard. And that's going to be forever, especially since we have kids and our kids introduce us to people. And so my son is only 5. So I feel like I have many years to go where I have to continuously meet new people who may be on, Ozempic or this or that. And I have to just be prepared to like remove myself or, use whatever it is I can to like let it go in one ear and out the other. But it's hard. It's really hard, when I'm surrounded by people who have no clue what I went through and there's just no filter going on whatsoever. Like, thankfully, sometimes my husband will be there or my older daughter and they'll be like, I need you over here, and pull me out of it. And again, that's why I think the support system part is so important,
Yeah. Triggers are crazy. People really don't know what they're saying. I would be scrubbing in with a doctor at my last job and he was like, I'm the like captain of like the like suicide like team. Like I tell people, like I encourage people to like go kill themselves or like, it's joking. Like people would say things like all the time and everyone's always like, oh my God, kill me. And like, but then the people that know my story be like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just so much. And I'm always just like, I don't know how I feel about the comments. I hear it and I definitely think about it, but like, there's a lot like people, especially everyone, I feel like it's like, kill me or I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to jump out like all the time. I'm just like, oh, okay,
right.
don't.
And it like goes to that point of like, you never know what somebody else is going through. And so it is learning how to be more mindful about what you say and your environment and the things you're around. Like I never thought like you sharing that with us right now, like somebody complimenting you on your appearance could be triggering, right? Like, I don't know. It's how, I guess for both of you, like, how did you learn your triggers?
Still learning.
Yeah, I mean, there's new triggers all the time, but I think like in the last chapter of my book, it's called Liar Pants on Fire. And I talk about all the things that like, I wish people would never, ever say because they don't realize like how traumatic it can be for somebody else. Like if you tell me that I look beautiful today, then this is wild because people who don't have an eating disorder won't understand this. But like, if you tell me that I look beautiful today, then to me, the last time you saw me and you didn't say that, I must have looked bad. Or if I see you next time and you don't say that again, then what happens? Did I gain weight? People doing something as simple as like, oh, you look beautiful today. Like, so what I say is let's not compliment anybody on their appearance ever. Like, why can't we compliment each other their accomplishments, or like,
Right.
you have a beautiful smile, or like, I love that bag you have. Anything besides what I look like,
Yes.
Right. Right.
And again, you don't know what your triggers are until you're
Yeah.
presented with them. I think the key is to know how to remove yourself from a situation when you do feel like you have a trigger, and what are you going to do when something triggers you, right? Like, you
Right.
have to know what you respond best.
How do you respond? Because I still am learning.
Honestly, like, I'm honest with people. So like, I was out again with some people who are friends with my son's friends, parents of my son's friends. And they were mentioning like, oh, I lost 20 pounds or whatever. And, they're all talking about it, and I'm quiet. And I'm like, you know what? I suffered from a disorder, and I still am in recovery. I'll be in recovery for the rest of my life. I'm like, I'm so happy for you that you're at like an ideal weight. But, for me, like, I'm going to just like go watch the game over there. I'll be back in a little bit. Like, don't take offense to it, And of course they do. They're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And I get that not everybody is at that point where they're ready to be honest. Because listen, I was 16 when I had my eating disorder. I'm 42. And this is the first time I'm able to be honest with people. So that's, not something everyone is going to be able to do, but you've got to figure out, maybe put your AirPods in. Like, if people are starting to make comments and you're uncomfortable, put your AirPods in, listen to some music, like tune it out, find a reason to walk away from the conversation. Maybe you start singing in your head, like anything to just distract your focus from what they're saying. And then, practice like your anxiety techniques. Like for me, it's like breathing and, the tactile things and things that I've learned in therapy, they do come in handy, when you're presented with a trigger. And again, they don't always work, but.
Yeah. And I feel like part of it too is learning the signs when you're triggered. And like you mentioned, knowing how to get out of that, like how to move, whether it's literally physically out of it or confronting it or being honest, whatever. But it's tough, man. It's tough out here.
It is tough. Like for me, like my trigger was, I had a lot of drama. So drama is very triggering for me. I'm an empath. And so having to put my shield up every single day just to deflect all the drama that was coming at me. And that's also having to compromise. Like, I don't want to have to fucking compromise anymore. Okay. I'm 61 years old. So for me, like when I got super triggered again, okay, I went a little bit further than Elisa and Emily did. I fucking quit my job. Okay. Like, I literally quit corporate America and opened up my own company because I didn't want to face those triggers anymore. A lot of triggering behavior started coming back, and I was like, I'm not fucking doing this again. And was it scary? Yes. Am I still learning from it? Do I get a little afraid every now and then? I do, but I'm taking better care of myself now than I did in 2022. And a lot of it comes from just doing this podcast, right? Listening to so many amazing people, our amazing guests, and I learn new stuff.
I think that's
every day.
key, is that everybody, like, as we're talking about this, we all recognize it's a different time where people are talking more about mental health and more about the things that we're struggling with and triggers and how to kind of get yourself in a better place. But I think, like, Emily, to your point, you had mentioned that now you're living for someone else, this tiny human, and it's not just about you anymore. How are you having those conversations? If not yet, do you have plans to have those conversations with your child?
I just try to focus on validating her feelings. Honestly, I'm trying to read parenting books and stuff all the time because I'm sorry, mom and dad, but you weren't great. You didn't know what you were doing. You were way too young. Even my dad, he did say that to me. I wasn't ready for kids, And so I try to I'm teaching myself, and I try to just tell it every day, because I have no self-worth. That's something I still struggle with every day. I don't think that I'm pretty. I don't think that I deserve to be loved. I don't think that I'm there's so many things. And I want to make sure, the more I instill it in my daughter and the more I see her shine and the more that like she loves herself, I think it heals me a little bit too, because I'm like, you know what? Like, that's what I needed to hear, like when I was little. And so whenever she talks negatively, I try to make her say something positive. And I also try to tell her, like, if something happens, like, it's okay to be sad about that. It's okay to cry, let it out, like, feel those feelings and like move on from it. Because I still to this day, if I'm like, I don't like showing my sadness, because after my like suicide attempt, you know, I almost died, you know, my family was called in the middle of the night, like, we don't know if she's gonna make it, like type of thing. So I still am afraid of being sad myself because I'm afraid of my own mind. And then I'm afraid to scare my family. So it's like sharing my sadness and like being vulnerable and sad is something that's really difficult for me. And it definitely has like made it tremendously like hard to like be in like a relationship. And, you know, so I want to just make her confident and know that her feelings are okay and that they're normal and that everybody has feelings. And I want her to understand, like, have them and then move on from them. Don't let them own you or control you.
Yeah, I can relate to that 100%. Like with my son, I remember like being pregnant and like thinking of like, man, if I could do a good job at this, right? Because like I don't think anybody will ever be, you know, prepared to be necessarily. Yeah, like, and there's not the right answer for everything either. But I remember thinking early on that I wanted him to at least, I wanted to acknowledge his feelings. And one thing I hated as a kid was when somebody would tell me like, why are you crying? Like, that's not even a big deal. Or like belittled how I felt. So I knew as a mom, I'm like, okay, I'm never going to do that. When he's feeling something, like, let's talk about it. Like, let's say, yeah, it's okay. Like you said, to be sad about that, to be hurt, to feel angry. Like, let's talk about it.
Hugging Lila whenever she's like really like, I know something's bothering her and she's trying to like she'll be kind of like mean to me a little bit and push me away. And that's when sometimes I'll just give her a hug. She's like, don't hug me, like, don't touch me. And then I'll like hug her for just a little longer. And then she'll give me a hug. She'll be like, thank you. You know what I mean? Then it like helps. And it's like, I try to just make her not feel alone in what she's going through.
Yeah. Safety.
So I actually have a question for the three of you because you're all moms. Have you guys shared any of the crisis hotline numbers with your kids in case they ever are in crisis and maybe don't feel comfortable
not yet
coming
for me,
to you
because
with the problem?
Lila's only 8 and I just don't know when, you know, there's like, she knows what mental health is. She knows, but I just think there's like, I don't think she's too young to really like go into it, but like she'll be sometimes like, oh, you want to go talk about your mental health stuff for a little bit, mom? Like, so she gets that there's something, but I haven't really gone into like detail really enough to be like, oh, this is crisis and here's the number. Maybe when she's older though.
I think for me, unfortunately, my kids witnessed it firsthand because, you know, the day that I left for, you know, the eating disorder unit, they were here, you know, and they saw my decline and they saw me leave. So, you know, it wasn't a matter of not discussing it or not being ready to discuss. I had no option. I had to discuss it with them. And I'm fortunate enough that, you know, my daughter confides in me for everything, like every second of her day, she talks to me about. And I'm just like very lucky in that sense. And my son is more quiet. And I do worry about my son sometimes when I see that he's like staying in his room a little bit longer. And then I'm like, okay, he's just a teenage boy. But they come to all of my events. So they were at my gala. So they heard, you know, they know it just from, I bring them with me to all of my mental health things because they're of an older age, you know, 15 and 19, they can handle hearing these stories. So that's how they know. My little guy, he's only 5. So no, I haven't talked to him about it yet. We're just starting to talk about how to use 911 and, you know, where do you live? And, you know, do you know my first name? Do you know my last name? Do you know our address and stuff like that? So I'm starting with like the basics now. So I'm not really into that with him yet, but yeah, I mean, it has to be a conversation because he's going to have friends one day and he might have to use that number for someone other than himself, you know?
Yeah. Same. We're at that same place of like, do you know where you live? What's 911 used for? But we talk about feelings doctors, and I'm honest, like I'm not always happy and chipper. I'm not very good at masking my emotions, even though internally I think I have it down packed. My face says it all. And so he knows like if I'm feeling bad or he's feeling bad, we're honest about it. Like I'm having a really down day. I'm not feeling so happy right now, or I'm tired or whatever. And he knows when mommy has her feelings doctor appointment. That's what I call it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go talk to somebody. It's my feelings doctor. And these are the things I'm learning. And so, we try to have those conversations. But we had somebody on our podcast early on that had like this. I don't know if you guys remember when I grew up, I remember there was like a magnet on the refrigerator that had like 911, the fire department, the police department, whatever.
Yeah.
And so she made something like that for her kids and their mental health, where there would be like a 988 or this or that. And so I have plans to incorporate that one day, because I do think there might be a time maybe where he's not comfortable talking to me, although he tells me literally too much now. But I want there to at least be a tool, and I don't want it to be a stigma. And I want him to know that, if he's feeling sad or angry or depressed, like there is other help besides mom. So it's my goal.
Yeah, Lila used to sit on my lap when I would have my therapy, like during COVID-ish times when everything I used like BetterHelp or whatever. And I found like the most amazing therapist. And I have to find him again because I stopped going, because like we would have like deep trauma sessions and I would need like a month recovery. Like people don't understand. Sometimes like the therapy journey is so different for everyone. But Lila, sometimes like I wouldn't have a babysitter or whatever, like being a single mom and trying to like find the balance of yourself and like your needs, and then you feeling like you're an adequate mom. So she would like be sitting on my lap, and like, so she knew like, and he would like kind of incorporate her into it. And like, so she knows that like there's doctors that are for like your brain, but
Yeah. I love BetterHelp.
Me too.
This was, I love that. I loved you guys' answer to the question, because I always want to find out like how moms are making sure that their kids' mental health is in check also, right? The world's really on fire right now. And we need to get these resources out there. And I know that we're all kind of like struggling in our own sense. So my question now is for like Emily, we met for coffee a couple of days ago, and we were talking about how the world is totally on fire right now. But like, how are you taking care of your mental health like now?
Honestly,
based on like everything that's going on.
It's probably
in the
going to
world.
be so controversial. I can't really like focus on the outsides too much. Like I can't focus on the politics. I can't focus on that, because sometimes that takes my anxiety, like gets carried away. So I really don't watch the news, stresses me out, but I try to go to the gym every day, at least for a little while. I wouldn't be able to do anything without my mom and my stepdad. I think like my stepdad, I think, is the first person who ever showed me like what unconditional love truly meant, because he has just loved me since the day that he met me. And, I got like sick in college, and I was working full time as a tech at like the VA, and I was also in school, and I also had Lila. We had food stamps, we had HEAP, we had WIC, we're doing all the things, and I didn't want to tell like anyone that I needed. That I was eating Lila's leftovers most days, so I got the flu and I have asthma, and I ended up getting admitted in the hospital. My labs were all messed up, and he was really upset. And so he ended up paying my rent for the rest of the semester until I graduated nursing school. And like, he didn't need to do that. I'm not his biological child. He didn't meet me until I was like, literally when I was pregnant with my daughter, I introduced him and my mom. So like, he's only known me for 10 years maybe. And so just realizing that people are genuine, there really is love out there, and that you don't need to do something to be loved, and like you are worthy of love. I think just focusing on that kind of stuff has really helped to heal me. But like I said, my journey is not even close to being over. I know I have so much more work to do. I know that I sometimes I lagged, I let it go for a little bit, and I stopped doing the therapy. I stopped doing the stuff because I was working so much. And like, you can make all these excuses until there's like a week where I can't get out of bed unless my daughter's home, and I'm just in my room crying. And still like to this day, no one really like will ask or like notice. And I'm just like, but so I just know that like I still have a lot more work to do. I definitely could be better at making myself better, because it's hard work on my part, and I'm the only one that can do the work.
When did you start like looking for the work to do on yourself? Like, when did that transition happen for you? Like,
I was like in a lot of unsuccessful like relationships, like, and I was like, I don't want to die alone. I want to feel love. I don't think that I've ever like been in love with like a male partner ever, because I don't trust people. I don't trust their intentions. I was like abused as a child. So I don't know It's definitely tainted my whole view of myself, which really is where the whole self-worth issues came from. And so I think after I left my daughter's father, I dated somebody that was even worse off in his mental health journey. And I had love for him, and I know he had love for me, but I was like, this is the type of like relationship I'm going to have forever unless I do something to better myself. I know I'm depressed. I know I have like major depression. I know I struggle. And like, now what am I going to do about it? Because I can't just be playing like the victim forever.
I feel you on that. Ooh, that hit hard. That's tough. That's tough. I have a question because it sounds like we have similar upbringings, but have you ever wondered if you don't know what love is?
Yeah.
Like right? Like, it's like, that's something I had to learn in therapy where I'm like, dude, how fucked up, right? My only goal in life or the wish was to love and be loved. But then when you realize,
be loved forever.
yeah, but then when you realize, what the fuck is love even, right? Because like one of my triggers is touch. I don't really like to be touched unless I ask you to touch me.
Same.
So with
don't
that,
hug me unless
right.
If I'm coming to you, like there's certain people, but it's like,
right.
And I feel bad because like my mom, she's like apologized. She's like totally done, like try to be there and fix everything. And still to this day, I could be like crying, something could happen. And she just give me a hug. And I'm just like I pull away and I'm like, don't touch me. And then I feel like such a jerk, but I'm just like, I don't know when that trigger goes away. Like, I don't know how to fix that.
Right. I'm same. I don't know when it'll go away, but I think for me, safety is key. So I've had to teach my husband how to make me feel safe before you touch me. Otherwise, I'm like fight or flight. Like I'm ready to, attack. Like I'm like, don't touch me.
Definitely has to do with our upbringings though, because I feel like as a child, my parents were not very affectionate with me at all. They loved me, but like they just didn't show like physical affection, And when my kids were little, I was always like hugging and kissing them and stuff when they were babies, right? But then when they started to grow, I didn't even realize this, but like I wasn't like a touchy-feely person with them. And like they called me on it one day and they're like, don't touch mom. Like she doesn't like to be touched. Or like, mom never gives us hugs. Like you never even like, and I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't even realize that's how I am. And even my husband was like, yeah, you're not affectionate. How did you not know that? And I'm like, I don't know. Because I just thought this is how you are. Like I just thought this is what you do. Like, it's what I know. And so much of it is like what you said, Emily, it's like a generational thing. And I feel like, even for myself, like and again, it's not my parents' fault, but like had I been taught to have a little bit of confidence as a child, like had somebody like, and I'm not saying I needed like constant praise or whatever, but like if someone maybe made me feel beautiful, my life may have turned out a little differently. I really do. And so like with my kids, I'm constantly trying to focus on like instilling confidence and allowing them healthy emotions and stuff like that. But I still struggle with the physical touch thing. So like while I'm killing it in one area, like I'm still, like struggling in so many others. And so I don't know that I'll ever be the perfect parent.
Hi all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm G-Rex.
And I'm Dirty Skittles.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'd love to listen to your feedback.
We can't do this without you guys.
It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.